You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various...
Hey, everybody. This is Unsealed. Welcome to the official podcast of Wings of the Eagle. Christopher Manti is me. You are you, I hope. So please say hello wherever you're watching this. YouTube preferably, but on the X platform is awesome as well. Please say hi, or Facebook even. Who you are, where you're from, if you've ever watched before or listened in. If you're listening in later on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or what have you, can't interact with you right now, but be happy to correspond with you. You can reach me on the X platform at Manti4, MANTEI4, or good old email if you'd like, Christopher at wingsoftheeagle.com. And we could use your support, by the way, if this is something you'd like. If we've been on the air now for several years, and but the past year and almost a half now, we've dedicated many episodes to what's happening in the world as we speak, which is always good to do, right? And that's about this UFO situation and what, whether governments or individuals or things that are occurring in real time. This is the most exciting way to do it. I think that's what, as a Christian, that's what God wants us to do, is to be engaged, to be in the world, but not of it. So that's what we're doing. All right. So we can use your support, please. wingsoftheeagle.com/support unsealed. We have a Patreon as well, patreon.com/wings of the eagle. You could also support us directly on YouTube or on X. Whatever you want to do is super appreciated, and we love it. And we're not brought to you by anyone other than yourself. It's the way it goes, right? I know everyone and their mother's asking you for help, but these days, but this is really one of those needs that you're needed for. Okay, so especially if you don't support anyone in this space, I would sure appreciate that. You'd consider that. Okay, they are in the ocean. That's what we're talking about today. And yes, we do have global viewers right now. Hello, brother MS in India. It is evening where he is, for sure. What are you, like, I can never remember exactly. Around 12 hours, 14 hours, something like that. Difference. 10. No, I think it's like 12, right? Anyways, India is a big country. A lot of souls there. So anyway, please do interact today. If you're watching live, we'd sure appreciate it. Hit the share button, please. That would be the best. Get someone else to let them know this is going on. And yes, people are talking about this. Hopefully, logical, sane people. And again, coming from a Christian point of view, that isn't always easy to navigate, both from my side of the house, as it were, and from others who don't believe. And there's a lot of suspicion and name calling and assumptions going on that is just not helpful. It's just not helpful at all. In fact, it's harmful to what is actually going on in the world. And so when we assume things, then we stop thinking. That's not cool. It's not cool. There you go. Our brother says it's 8:20 Indian time right now. So that's, boy, you're making me do math here. That's okay. 10 hours and a half, 9, something like that. A lot in the future. India is to where I'm at on the East Coast of the USA. Okay. Speaking of the East Coast of the USA, this topic today applies to me, applies to where I live, and many, many other places, but we've got real good documentation, recent documentation of the fact that when I say they, I'm not naming names. Okay. I'm not going to pretend to preach to you about who they are, but the fact is that there are I don't care what you want to call them, phenomena, vehicles, entities, I don't know. They're in the ocean. They're in all our oceans. There are many, many instances of not just human eyeballs that see it, but military grade instrumentation that sees and records and has proof of what you would call UFO or UAP rising out of oceans, other bodies of water too, but rising out of the oceans and going into the oceans and not coming back. Right? That's why they're now, it used to be called UFOs, flying objects. Now it's anomalous. Or it used to be aerial even, but like that doesn't really cover it either. Because we're not talking about just in the air. Whatever these things are, whoever they are at least using and go into and some way, somehow, some purpose to being in the ocean itself. Why would they do that? That's my question. So, what, to hide? I don't know. Space is a lot easier to hide in, isn't it? I mean, outer space. But it's pretty effective. Your average human being cannot see under the ocean, has no idea what's there. But again, we have actual proof that yes, these things do that. And in the famous Tic Tac incident, for example, you have again eyewitnesses and instrumentation recordings and proof that famous Tic Tac that the U.S. Navy was chasing around they first saw it over the ocean hovering and doing something with or interacting with or trying to do something under the ocean. The ocean itself was bubbling up, was frothing up like there was something underneath. Or, like when a wave crashes, you have the activity from the salt in the water and all that. So there was something going on, and Fravor, the captain who obviously is now famously telling the world about this incident, and this is 20 years ago now, he said there was something under the water. And again, we have other instruments, other subs, other ships who were watching what was going on. And we know that there was a very large object under the water at that time. So what's that about? Okay, there's several possibilities there. But one thing it was not for sure under the water, which was a human craft. Or in other words, it wasn't the U.S. Navy, a submarine being, afflicted or talking to that Tic Tac. It was something else. So are those two things related? Are they on the same team? Is this like a rescue mission? Is this like a salvage thing to, get it up out of the ocean to bring it back wherever Tic Tac came from? Or is it the opposite? Is this where they exist all the time and this is refueling or something like that? Or even are they actually opposed to each other? Are there different factions? And maybe this was some kind of battle, or somebody got caught in for lack of a better term, a tractor beam, right? And they couldn't get away. And this was a conflict of some kind. All those things are possible. And again, we just have to accept the facts, even though we don't like them or don't know what to do with them. And even though your government thinks you're an idiot, and all of your governments, by the way, think you're idiots, and can't deal with the facts and the truth of these things which are there. You can't say they're not there. I don't see how it's possible that they are not actually there. We know that they are. So they're physical in some way. I mean, yes, you have to be a physical thing to show up on instruments. and have some type of solidity and whatever. So I don't really care what you call that, but it's not a spiritual thing. I'm not saying that's not part of it. I'm not saying this is not, you know, even part of how this all works, but to say these things like the Tic Tac, like the things under the water, are somehow not physically there is false. So you say, okay, there are some things that exist that are not only flying in the air, which is common. Now we get that. We've, as a society, we've come to laugh at that or snicker that away and think, oh well, it's just one of those, and people make stuff up, but not under the water. Why would you make that up? And your average person never sees those things. It's only the navies of the world or your deep sea divers, and yes, there's literature on all of this, not just physical crafts or what have you, but beings who are there. And yes, there are. I don't think we've talked about it. We definitely haven't referred to it much here on Unsealed. But there's evidence, and there are folks who say they have worked in these areas who are claiming, yes, they do actually go underwater, and they actually are from the water, and at least that's where they're based now. There's theories of, well, have they always been there? Did they arrive from another world at some other time? But apparently they've been, again, according to this, what I'm referring to, there are bases under the oceans, huge bases, that actually this is where your UFOs come from. Literally, like they make them down there. And according to this, what I'm referring to, this person who's saying that they worked in this area, they are made to order. In other words, the base under the ocean will create what we call a UFO for the job that it's needed to do, whatever that is. Today we need to go observe something, or go snatch somebody or a cow, or just observe, the city, or do some mission or whatever. That's why they look different. Again, according to this, that's why they're shaped differently. That's why they are different sizes. Depends on what needs to be done to order, right? Made to order. And then they go back when they're done. That's the claim. Again, yes, this claim that there are the bases are underground at the bottom of the oceans, literally, and they're massive. And there's one that this particular person points out. He'll say exactly where it is. It's in basically where the Bermuda Triangle is. In the South Atlantic, or I don't know, not South Atlantic, whatever you'd call that, Caribbean-ish region. And not only that, he says it has moved. Like it can move at two different points. And there's likely, and other people have said this, that there are several of these. One off the east coast of America, one off the west coast, one off of the British, European coast, South Indian Ocean. Like apparently there's several of these. And that's where the mystery leads us at this point, because they are there, and your Navy in the United States sees them and records them, and is deathly afraid to tell anyone about them. Because, again, just like in the skies, you're having maneuvers and speeds that are impossible. As far as we know, we don't know how something could go that fast underwater, for example. We just literally don't understand how you can do that. It's as if they're operating that there's no water there at all. Just like in the sky, it's like there's no gravity or resistance up there at all. Or even this, I know you don't want to even think about this third aspect. They go through solid objects like they're not there. I know some people will say, well, then they'll default to they're not actually real. Then this is a spiritual thing. Well, I wouldn't do that. If you have a means to operate in a shield or a bubble where matter is, I don't know how to put it, like you're controlling it, or you're going through it, kind of encased in this little safety bubble where you can manipulate the molecules or the atoms around you to not prevent you from going anywhere or slowing you down, then it's, you could say, okay, well then it doesn't matter what you're trying to go through. You can go right into the earth itself. That's another possibility of this, is that not only are they in the oceans, but they're actually under the oceans and in the actual crust of the earth. And again, that doesn't point to origin. It doesn't like ultimate origin. It doesn't point to anything other than there is activity there. And apparently, from what, folks who are in the know about this and who have talked about it for a long time, are being told this is even more. It's kind of like an open secret about the Roswell crash retrievals, right? We've literally heard this for decades. We haven't admitted it yet as a country, or as a world, as a community of even military or intelligence. There's a civil war going on about somebody who says it's not true at all, never happened, versus yes, it actually did, and we're covering it up. There's that whole thing going on, but that's kind of an open secret. The under the water stuff is not. It's still very, very not known, not acknowledged. The American people, for example, don't know about it generally. And how could we? Again, unless you're under there, unless you're living on the shoreline, unless you're in the military, unless you're doing things under the water, which most people never do. It's not an open secret. It's still very much a secret. But doesn't change the fact that, yes, they're there. Does that mean what? Again, are they from there? Are they just using that? Were they here originally? Have they been here all along? Is that their natural habitat? Is something more crazy even going on? Like, well, this is like Atlantis. That story that, is very famous in mythology. Maybe it's not totally mythology. And if that's the case, maybe we're not talking about non-humans at all. Maybe we're talking about actual people. And again, what does that, like we said last week, the moon, for example, is not going away. Like it comes back into this story again and again and again. Maybe there are bases there. Maybe there's things there that we can't see, that we don't want to admit. This is all true. Anyway, let's talk about the oceans. Okay. So I just want to let you know, if you didn't know already, this is a fact. There are UFOs, UAPs, whatever you want to call USOs, unidentified submerged object, whatever name you want to give them. They're there. And apparently they're not different than the ones that are in the sky. They're the same things. But the navies of the world who have submarines at least know about it because they encounter them all the time. It's just like our pilots. So it's a real thing. There's no doubt. And if you wanted to stay out of the, I don't know, hypothetically, if you are whatever you are, this other civilization, whether you're aliens, whether you're crypto-terrestrial, some other form of life, whether you're just human beings from a long time ago who developed this stuff, if you wanted to stay hidden, a great place to go would be under the ocean. That makes sense. But they're there. It's real. They exist. What are we going to do about that? Or what should we be doing about that? Are we going to demand transparency on this and disclosure, or what? Okay, let's get to some of your comments because you're making them and I'm ignoring you, not on purpose. Bermuda Triangle, North Central Atlantic Ocean region. Yeah, so it's off between the Carolinas and Cuba. You make a triangle between like the Carolinas and Cuba and Bermuda, which is an island way off in the Atlantic. So that area, that general area, yes. Are you saying that there are several Bermuda Triangle type places in the oceans? In as much as there are claims and some evidence that there are massive artificial structures that are in more than one ocean, yes. Hello, Linda. It's Linda from Facebook. She says, sorry to cover up my face there. It's a big comment. They may be investigating for whatever, maybe planning or plotting or mere interest. And it's so interesting that they may be in the ocean. Could explain many abductions or missing, and interesting about the Bermuda Triangle since there's a magnetic draw there. Right, that's another aspect of that region. There's, physical anomalies that are there. Maybe in caves above and below water. If they're quick, that's no mystery. Dolphins and other sea creatures are quick in their surroundings. Maybe even the spaceship also takes another shape underwater. Well, that's a whole other thing too. That's call it a spaceship if you want. That would tell me that that's its primary function is to be in outer space. Now, I don't know that. I don't have any information to make me confident of that name at all for me. Some people disagree. That's fine. But they have the whole changing shape thing, unfortunately for our little brains, is real also. Like as it's going, right? As it's going along, sometimes you catch it on video. Some people say, "Oh, it's just the classic, view is a saucer shape, or a disc. A disc. It's a better. I don't like the word saucer. So it's a disc, maybe with a rounder middle part. That's your classic view. Well, what if it was turned on its side, or you're seeing the bottom, but then again, sometimes you're looking at. I've seen things where, not personally with my eyes, but on videos where you're actually seeing the things changing as it goes. It looks like a square 1 second, looks like a circle, looks like oblong. Look, as it's just going along, it looks like it's changing shapes. So that's possible. But Linda's actually saying that could explain how easy it would be to get away, right? To if you're abducting a person, let's say, or somebody goes missing, and where do you take them? Like that's the whole thing, right? I was taken aboard I'm just paraphrasing, a person who has an abduction story, let's say. I was paralyzed, I couldn't move, I woke up in this other place, this craft or this room, this other location. So maybe those locations are just under the water. Maybe. And yeah, I don't remember exactly this man who claimed to be in the U.S. military program, where again his claim is we've known about this one in the Atlantic Ocean for years, and we think they've been there for over 100 years. That was his claim. So like that is a revealing thought, if it's accurate, obviously. If what he's telling is the truth, or at least what he was told, and he understands it, right? So now we're talking about something that's, before Roswell, before Magenta in Italy, 1933. We're dealing with a long-term issue. We are not dealing with Aleister Crowley or Mr. Parsons, opening up a demonic portal in the 1940s. We're talking about something that preceded that, and go from there, right? So I think it's really a huge mistake to assume, just general, not speaking about you, Linda, what you said about the spaceship or whatever. That's very possible. But the evidence or what we're interacting with, as far as I know, and again, space is like even more secretive probably because no one is up there. Like your average person has no access other than what NASA or satellite telescopes are allow you to see. May even be more secretive up there if there are interactions. But from all the interactions that I can see, and we can see, researchers, historians, like your Richard Dolan has been working on this USO book for several years now, and I think it's about ready to come out finally. It's all about underwater UFOs. Hundreds and hundreds of pages. It's a long-term issue, and with the preponderance of the evidence, as you would say in a courtroom, is not to look to outer space for the origins of this. So I think, depending on telescopes and other planets and faraway places, to me, is a waste of time. I don't think that's the right place to look. We have way more close and intimate interactions happening every day on the Earth, in the sky, yes, and under our oceans. There's no reason to go further than that. I don't care where they came from originally. They're here now. I see you, Madam Rex. What's up? On X, by the way, thank you for being there and commenting there. Love you. Whether Parsons opened a portal or not, others before him, it seems. It seems. Possibly. Yes. So obviously I know what you're referring to, Aleister Crowley and that whole thing. Actually, I read something very interesting about Crowley. I think it was yesterday, and his this famous what he says. There's no other witnesses that I know of to this this encounter with this lamb entity, right? LAM. And he drew a picture, and it kind of sort of looks like a big-headed gray stereotype, except for the eyes. The eyes are very tiny. So the head, the cranium was very big, but unlike your grays, they had the big almond-shaped, black eyes. This guy in the picture was very, very small eyes, actually. But anyway, head was bigger for sure. Apparently Crowley thought that was just himself. He didn't think it was another entity at all. He thought it was just some kind of reflection or manifestation of some part of him. A little crazy talk. That's the point. Thank you, man. How can you trust that guy on anything? I have no idea. He's an infamous liar. An exaggerator. But that's part of his motif, right? That was his thing. I'm the Antichrist. I'm gonna piss off every Christian in the world by saying these things. Basically, I think that's what he was about. Provocateur, and yeah, he lied a lot, and he was fine with that. So I don't know what to believe as far as that guy goes. Okay, like and so the claim is, by some, Parsons is the only one I'd really look at there. Right. So the claim is, well, we know basically what happened, and this Mr. Parsons was one of the people who invented our rocket space program. He's a rocket genius. All our moon missions and space shuttle, all this stuff came from his, or partially because of his work. But but he was also interested in this demonic stuff, or opening portals and to other entities and communicating with them and stuff like that. And there was some kind of ritual that happened in the 1940s in California at his place. And they must have done something. They tried to do something to communicate with these other intelligences, and then his house blew up. And that was the end of that guy. But right after that, basically, was the Roswell situation. And the Washington State, the days before Roswell, just 1947 summer. So there's coincidence, but some say that's causality because of what Parsons did that day. Hence, you have the Roswell and the associated incidences. Okay, but it would be something. Now, there's no doubt this is like a major milestone, right? Roswell is a huge milestone moment. No, there's no doubt. That's not to say there weren't sightings and interactions before that in America, because there were. And in Italy, we know, because apparently there's a crash in 1933. The Foo Fighters were in Europe. And who knows, in Korea, by the way. And World War I mean, like, there's things going back way before Mr. Parsons. So, like, it's just that as we get to the nuclear age, after the nuclear bomb is dropped, we develop nuclear weapons, and then we have Hiroshima, Nagasaki, and then Roswell. Basically, that's the history of it. From that point on, our technology has just exponentially gone better, right? So we can see things we can never see before. We can go places we've never been before, like to space, like to the ocean floor. Like, to me, that's more compelling. Like, we're seeing more things because we can, versus some crazy guy opened a portal one place. Well, why weren't they in California? Right? Why was it New Mexico that it manifested or whatever? I have major problems with that. I just don't. It doesn't compute as much as it needs to. Major holes. But that's just me at this point in time. So, and we can go down this road if you want today. I don't really mind. Of course, I don't mind. Adam says interdimensional portals seem always to have existed, whether Parsons opened a major portal or not. I'm not gonna dispute that, but the core issue to me on that is, let's say such things are real and have always existed. Okay. The crux of it is, did human beings do anything to make them exist? That's the part that I don't have evidence on. Like, human beings love to think they're in control, right? And think that we're so important, and to think that we have powers when we don't. And I know agree with this because we talked about it. The arrogance of witches and wizards and that whole mindset about being able to open communications and portals and curses and all that stuff is like, it's just for them to decide when these things happen or not. That's a whole other issue. So again, like I don't want to throw anything out completely in the trash as far as theories or ideas. I want to be open to, because we don't know yet. Some people think they know. I'm leery of them because there's agendas usually attached to that. They want money, they want power, they want control the narrative, stuff like that. So I'm leery about all these, any folks who say this is definitely what it is. So the whole portal thing, I mean, I don't know. The only supernatural stuff you can trust is from the Bible, right? Like as far as explanations, as far as what has happened really in the past, what is possible, what is, or what human beings have influence or what they can participate in and what they can't, and when this other, call it what you want, the heavenly realm or the the invisible unseen realm interacts with humans, this world, what does it look like, who did that, who was the impetus, or what was the impetus, things of that sort. So there's not a lot. I mean, the only like biblical example as far as like a person doing anything and changing anything or producing some other unseen worldly stuff was the Witch of Endor. And even that was the spirit of Samuel, who was a dead guy, a dead prophet, right? So, and it was never anything other than that. We know people worshipped other deities, other demons, demonic things, fallen angels and whatnot as gods. We know the worship happened. We know that certainly is possible. And then bad things are associated when you do that. But it doesn't mean, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that there's any type of supernatural interaction being opened up by you worshiping them or these other things. I'm just saying. So, yeah, there's a lot left to be determined. Okay. As far as what we're dealing with and how, if anything has changed over the years or it hasn't, or maybe we're just can see more now. Maybe we can, we're getting better at how it all works. And then whoever these other folks are, maybe they are stepping up their interactions with us for whatever reason. That's truly unknown, right? Because it's not to destroy us at this point, right? We do that to ourselves. It's definitely not to save us, because we've got horrible atrocities every single day and nobody's stopping it. To be determined. But for our sake, our purposes today, for sure, I just want to encourage everyone, do your homework on this. Go see that, yes, the oceans have just as much activity, UFO, UAP activity, as the sky. And why is that? It kind of takes it. Yeah, I know. It kind of takes it out of the realm of the Jacques Vallée, John Keel, non-physicalness of the UFO issue, right? They're all about, well, yeah, but they're really not physical. They're just like, that's why they look different to different people. The entities are different over time. The vehicles look different over time. And I'm not saying there's nothing to that. There is something to it, probably. But once you get into the fact that they're not just flying in the sky, where it's a natural human activity and desire to look into your surroundings and look at the skies and look at the stars and assume or want to believe certain things about what's up there, and you see something and zooming around that you can't identify, that's an issue, right? But if you're in the ocean, you can't see that. It really has nothing to do with people. It has nothing to do with people's experiences or what they view you as, or spiritual interaction, or messing with your mind, all that that Keel and Valet point of not point of view, but that theoretic framework, that's really the truth behind this whole thing. And I'm not saying you can't dismiss that, but again, it's like, if we're just talking about in the sky and you seeing things, that's one thing. But now we're talking about being abducted, that's another thing. Now we're talking about actually they're in the oceans. What's the point of all that? But we know they're there, so we have to deal with that. Why would they have to be in the ocean if they're an ethereal, invisible, spiritual trickster? All they're interested in is showing us different motifs and faces and deceive us, or have some kind of plan, or they're just playing with us and all that stuff. But that doesn't. If it was just in the sky, that's much more relevant of a discussion. But now, if it's not just that, and people can never see them, and they're still there. I mean, your average person. And if there are underground bases or, underwater facilities, and maybe facilities on the moon, again, on the dark side of the moon or the far side where people never see it, that's a whole nother level, isn't it? You know what I mean? Like, you really have to either outright dismiss or put to the side the valet mode on this. There's more to it. Yes, there's a physicalness to it. There's something that is not about interacting with us purely or messing with our minds. It's beyond that now. They actually have to go somewhere. And you're right? It's like a society all of a sudden. It's not just random things. Anyhow, I think I've said my piece on that. All right, guys. Any other interaction that we want to make before we wrap it up today? By the way, thank you for liking and sharing, and for participating, whether you're live now or you're going to do it later. I'm speaking to you in the future. Thank you. And please do share this. Oh, wait, Madam Rex, is one other thing. The magician made rings to get to Narnia, but the wardrobe was already there. The wardrobe was... Okay, I see what you're saying. That's right. The other four. Well, the wardrobe was made from the tree, if I remember right. The rings got you into like this other, like in between world, right? The world between worlds, where you can access all these doors to other worlds, right? And yes, there was a tree there, and that's what they made. Was that the witch? She had something to do with it. And they made the tree carved it into a wardrobe, and hence the gate to the Narnia. Anyway. Yeah, there you go. I knew it was right there. Wardrobe was a tree. Okay. Anyways, probably don't need magic rings to solve the UFO dilemma. And as we know from Tolkien, magic rings aren't always a good thing. Okay. Right. So if they're in the ocean, if you think I'm full of it and you think all these claims about them or things being in the ocean are lies, I don't know what to tell you. Right. I guess we're just going to have to go our separate ways, and that's that. But I really want to appeal to you to say it's not just outer space. It's not ETs as we imagine them. What if they're not only in the ocean? What if they're from there? If they're from there, the whole outer space ET theory is gone. That's totally irrelevant. That's a big deal. And it's darn close, in my view, it's darn close to eliminating the spiritual, demonic explanation for what these things are. It's not to say they couldn't be demonically or evilly influenced or have their own relationship with Satan, okay? But they're not the same things if they're actually living in the water. In my understanding, I don't see how that could be. So it's a strong argument in favor of physical things, not from space potentially, but definitely more. There's more to it than just messing with people. I think that's where I'm at right this second. Maybe you're there too. Maybe you're somewhere else. I'd love to hear from you. And again, we are brought to you by your support. So please do so. wingsoftheeagle.com/support unsealed. Give whatever you can there. The Patreon page has several offerings for you, including a secure private group called the Aviary, which we're still just waiting for folks to join so we can activate it. So you're welcome to do that. Again, you can also support us directly through YouTube and be a supporter there, or the X platform at Mantei4, MANTEI4. For $10 a month there, you can get whatever I got. You get a free book, you get access to private conversations, join the Aviary, with all that stuff. So however you can would be awesome. I love you all so much, even if I don't know you. Today is a good day for salvation. So don't waste it. Let's be about getting to the truth, darn it. Right? And the truth is a man at the end of the day. Make sure we know Jesus. Amen. All right, guys. Till next time, this is Christopher Mantei for Wings of the Eagle for Unsealed. Maybe we'll see you next week or as time allows. And of course, if something major comes along in the world or news or prophecy-wise or whatever, we will endeavor to get on immediately and do live streams on that as well. Okay? All right, my friends. We will see you next time. Bye-bye.